Adam was the fourth child in the family. Unplanned and unwanted, an extra mouth, Grandma would say. She ruthlessly scolded her daughter-in-law for the fourth child, and without hesitation, she would have terminated the pregnancy if she hadn't noticed it too late at the 14th week. The term was too advanced. No one would undertake the operation, and the mother of three couldn't bring herself to do anything illegal. What if something went wrong? She would leave three children as orphans. Of course, she could have paid a doctor, fabricated a diagnosis to justify an abortion, but even that was a step too far for her. Resigned to her fate, she decided to carry on. The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Her belly was small compared to the last time when she carried the long-awaited son, Bailey. The husband had desperately wanted a boy, especially after having two girls, Amber and Hillary, before. Initially, the family had planned for just one child, a boy for sure, but when a girl was born, they decided to try again. However, disappointment struck once more. Another girl. Supporting two children was expensive, so they postponed the attempt to have an heir for several years. Dreams of a third child resurfaced for the couple when the head of the family found a good job, and the wife returned to work after maternity leave, managing to create a small financial cushion. They also expanded their living space, moving into a spacious 3-bedroom apartment, albeit with a mortgage. Lying on her husband's shoulder in their cozy bedroom, the woman smiled dreamily and mused, "We'll give that room to our boy, and the girls can share one room. It'll be enough for them." The couple actively started trying to conceive. The woman meticulously tracked all the necessary charts, calculated favorable days to increase the chances of having a boy. But whether it was previous illnesses or something else, the child just wasn't happening for them. Over the course of a year, with tears in her eyes, the woman would discard negative pregnancy tests into the trash can, and then she persuaded her husband to visit a doctor. After numerous examinations, they were advised to try IVF. Twice the embryos didn't implant, but on the third attempt, the couple realized they would soon be parents again. When Bailey was born, their joy knew no bounds. They tried to give the little one the best of everything: the healthiest food, the highest quality clothing, and the finest toys. However, the fairy tale ended soon after. The head of the family lost his prestigious job and had to settle for a more modest position. The family didn't go hungry and maintained a decent lifestyle, but expenses had to be cut. Even precious Bailey stopped receiving the indulgences he once had. The family's main expense was the mortgage. Consequently, the parents often denied themselves and their older daughters various treats, but they spared nothing for their younger son. Thus, one could often hear the phrase in the house, "Don't touch that. It's for Bailey." The devoted mother breastfed her long-awaited baby until he was 2 years old, causing her menstrual cycle to become irregular. Therefore, she didn't suspect pregnancy in the first few weeks. Moreover, Adam in her belly behaved calmly, trying not to cause his mother any unnecessary problems such as morning sickness. The woman sensed that something was amiss when Bailey weaned from breastfeeding. She couldn't understand what was happening, and she might never have known if the doctor at the hospital hadn't mentioned that during pregnancy, breast milk often turns bitter. It's a defense mechanism the mother's body creates for the future baby. Bitter milk prompts the older child to wean, as breastfeeding could lead to a miscarriage. Better if it happened. A miscarriage, the woman thought. The husband initially tried to console his distraught wife, reminding her of the difficulties and financial costs they faced when conceiving Bailey. And now, a new family member was coming seemingly for free. But the man himself wasn't thrilled about the new addition to the family, especially since it was likely to be another girl. When the pregnant woman found out during an ultrasound that they were indeed having a boy, she felt a momentary euphoria. Well, a boy. And so easily and absolutely free, she exclaimed. However, that feeling quickly faded when the future parents calculated how much they would have to spend on the newborn. In 2 years, the prices for baby goods had risen, While their family income had dropped, they would have to deny themselves something again. I want to get my nails done, go to a salon, dye my hair, do masks. I want to dress nicely. And the kids need so much music school, sports sections. Bailey wants to join all sorts of clubs. How are we going to afford all this now? She lamented. Don't worry, dear, we'll figure something out, promised the husband, though he didn't actually come up with any solutions. The time for childbirth arrived. They didn't have to buy much for the baby. Many things were left over from the older children, especially from Bailey. The birth went smoothly and much easier than the previous one. It seemed like the baby was doing everything to spare his mother from suffering. However, the woman didn't appreciate the modesty of her fourth child. He looks somewhat odd, you see, she remarked, pursing her lips. He's a normal boy. The father shrugged. No, remember Bailey? How sweet he was, with those adorable eyes and a button nose. This one has his nose to the side, and his eyes are slanted. What are you saying? The plumpness couldn't hold back. Once the swelling goes down, the boy will be handsome, and his nose will straighten. And if you don't like your son, let me take him. My kids have grown up, and I can't wait for grandchildren. Take him, the mother said coldly. What are you saying, dear? Father said, let's think about a name for him instead. I don't know. I don't have the strength to think. The woman grimaced. Think for yourself. Well, we named Bailey after my father. Now, let's name this one after yours. How about Adam? The man suggested. I won't say we had warm relations with my father, but I like the name, so I agree, waved the mother of many. And so, the newborn gained a name but not a loving family. Of course, they took care of the boy. He was never hungry, unkempt, or dirty. However, if he wanted a toy, he usually received a refusal. We have plenty of toys at home. Why do you need this one? He was also deprived of sweets. His mother and grandmother could secretly treat the older children to ice cream, leaving nothing for Adam. But in adulthood, the young man was even grateful to his parents for these restrictions. The limitations on sweets helped him maintain strong, white teeth. Adam also wore worn-out clothing. Some items were hand-me-downs from his older brother, and even from his sisters. While he didn't pay much attention to it at a younger age, it became awkward for him in school that he was always wearing someone else's clothes. Mom, this is a girl's sweater. Adam nearly cried when his mother suggested he wear a mustard-colored pullover. What are you talking about? Where does it say it's for girls? Mustard color is unisex. His mother disagreed. There's an embroidered butterfly on the chest. He persisted. So what? Look at the colors. There isn't even pink, brown, red, suitable for boys. She argued. Arguing with his mother was pointless, so Adam reluctantly put on the despised sweater. However, as soon as he left the house, he tried to get rid of the incongruous item. First, he had to take off his jacket, then the sweater, which he stuffed into his backpack, another hand-me-down, this one from his brother. Then the boy dressed again, zipped up his jacket, and braved the cold. It was chilly in his winter jacket, worn over a single shirt, but it was better than going to school and showing everyone a girlish sweater. Upon returning from school, he repeated the dressing operation in reverse to ensure his mother wouldn't find out. If Bailey had been more careful with his belongings, Adam would have had much more clothing. But the older brother seemed to deliberately soil his white sneakers, giving them a dirty yellowish gray tint that couldn't be removed. Bailey didn't spare his things, but he was never scolded for it. It's okay. We'll buy new ones on sale now, and Adam will get these, his mother would say. Adam felt hurt by this treatment. After all, he was always sternly reprimanded for ruining things, unlike his brother. But one day, Adam realized that Bailey purposely damaged things so that the younger brother wouldn't get anything new. It happened when Bailey saw a stylish wool shirt in red and black checks at a store. As soon as he laid eyes on it, he exclaimed, "Mom, Buy it. It's an amazing piece. Pushing his mother in the side, turning the tag in her hands, the woman shook her head and hesitantly said, "It's a bit pricey. Maybe we can get another one." "No, I want this one," insisted the boy, sighing. The woman continued to feel and examine the shirt. Then, taking a deep breath, she said, "Okay, let's try it on." As soon as Bailey put on the shirt, his mother beamed with a smile. Indeed, the garment looked magnificent on her son, and the boy himself radiated joy. The woman was so captivated by her son that she didn't even notice Adam standing nearby behind the racks, gazing sadly at them. He, too, wanted that shirt. In general, the boy was indifferent to clothing. He would prefer to buy a microscope or a book instead. But sometimes, he liked a particular t-shirt or sneakers. However, he never tried to ask for them. Now, he stood amidst the lined-up shirts, touching the thin wool fabric, imagining how cool he would look going to school in that shirt, paired with black jeans. Lost in his daydream, he didn't notice the smiling young saleswoman approaching, looking for your size. She kindly asked. "No, thank you," the boy replied quietly. Apparently, the girl didn't hear him and started moving hangers around. "All right, what's your height?" "Okay, got it. Hold on," she said, and without giving Adam a chance to react, she began putting a shirt on him. "Well, how do you like it?" "Look in the mirror," she said with a smile, grabbing the boy's shoulders and guiding him to the mirror. Adam looked at his reflection. The shirt fit him perfectly. A smile involuntarily appeared on his face, which was immediately chased away by his mother's shout. "What's this? What did you put on? Quickly, put it back. What if the store employees see?" she snapped irritably. "Oh, sorry," the salesgirl apologized. "I put it on him. I wanted to help. I thought you wanted to buy a shirt for your son." His mother's cheeks turned red in an instant. "Yes, I'm buying a shirt for my older son. We've already determined the size," she said, turning to Bailey with a smile, asking, "Bailey, how about you? Do you really like it? Shall we take it?" The boy nodded affirmatively, and his mother, taking the shirt off him, handed it to the salesgirl. "Here, pack it, please. Don't you want the same for your brother?" the girl asked. "Oh, are they going to dress alike? They're not twins, you know." "So what? Look how much he likes it," said the salesgirl, pointing at Adam, whose eyes glimmered with hope that the shirt would somehow magically transfer from the store to his wardrobe. "Oh, forget it," his mother waved her hand. "He, being the younger one, follows his brother. They grow so fast. You can't keep up. And I can't afford to buy new ones every month. Sorry. Take it official." With a stern brow, she concluded, making it clear that the matter was closed. The salesgirl started unbuttoning the shirt on Adam, and seeing his disappointed look, whispered, "Sorry." In response, the boy just sighed. It hurt a lot. To gain hope and lose it immediately. All he could hope for now was that Bailey would quickly outgrow the shirt, and it would finally be handed down to Adam. But the older brother, as luck would have it, grew extremely slowly, and it took him 2 years for the sleeves to become too short. Whenever Bailey came home from school, Adam would always inspect the shirt on him, checking for any holes or signs of wear. But surprisingly, the older brother took care of the garment. It was clear that he liked it a lot. And then, the long-awaited moment arrived. "Here, take it. Now it's yours," Bailey said, solemnly handing the younger brother the folded checkered shirt. Unbelieving of his luck, Adam accepted the coveted item and, unfolding it, almost collapsed to the floor, feeling a simultaneous mix of horror and disappointment. There was a hole with frayed edges burned into the prominent area of the red and black checkered fabric. Clearly, it was an iron mark. "What's this? Aren't you happy?" Bailey asked mockingly. "Where did this hole come from? It wasn't there before," bewilderedly asked Adam. "It's a new trend. Didn't you know?" his brother said seriously, and then burst into laughter. "Man, you're such a fool." Giving his brother an indecent gesture with his fingers, ran to his room, leaving disappointed Adam holding the checkered cloth. "What an idiot," sighed his sister, who had observed the entire scene. She, too, disliked Bailey because after his birth, their parents seemed to go crazy, especially their mother. It was like some kind of personality cult. "Let me see," she said, taking the shirt from her younger brother. "Oh, it's burned really badly," she sighed. "But you know what? Let's go to the sewing shop. We'll find a cool patch. I'll sew it for you, and you can wear it to school." "Will you really do that?" Adam asked happily. "Well, of course, you're my brother," said Hillary, and hugged him. Together they went to the store and chose a black patch in the shape of Freddie Mercury with a microphone. The patch looked cool and fit perfectly. Adam smiled as he watched his sister skillfully work with a needle and thread. In the end, everything worked out, and the patch looked perfect. Adam was grateful to Hillary with all his heart. He hugged his sister tightly. The next day, he went to school in the shirt, and he noticed Cassidy, a tall, mature-looking classmate who, despite her young age, wore vibrant makeup and heels higher than the teacher. "Cool shirt, Adam, very stylish." She smirked. "Will you give it to me?" Adam was stunned. The most beautiful girl in the class wanted to wear his shirt. She wasn't picky and would wear it. Without hesitation, the boy took off his shirt and handed it to the girl. Laughing, Cassidy took it and, contrary to Adam's hopes that she would immediately put on his favorite item of clothing, she stuffed the gift into her fashionable bag over her shoulder. And by the end of the lessons, Adam found the new rag in red-black checkered pattern in the bathroom on the first floor, where students casually wiped their dirty shoes after coming in from the wet autumn street. The reserved Adam became even more withdrawn after this incident. To drown out the pain of disappointment and betrayal, he immersed himself in his studies. When the main lessons were done, he focused on math. He perceived mathematics as a puzzle. He excelled at this subject, always receiving praise from teachers and ridicule from classmates. In general, the boy was very intelligent from an early age, but his mother did not appreciate his abilities, calling him an autistic child. She didn't come up with this diagnosis herself. Another mother on the playground labeled him that after Adam's mother mentioned that her son, at the age of 2, almost completely recited the first fairy tale he had heard. "Oh, I wouldn't envy you." The woman shook her head. "What's wrong?" asked the mother. "But you know how many autistics there are now. They are unsociable, gloomy, like yours. But they can count well, and they have good memory. However, there's no point in it anyway, because they don't understand what they're saying." Adam's mother took the words of the unfamiliar woman to heart, and, from then on, often referred to her son as autistic. However, she never went to a doctor. Why bother when everything was already clear? Even ordinary people can see that something is wrong with him. "He's autistic," she told her husband, who, immersed in the struggle to earn more, had completely distanced himself from raising the children. Later, as Adam grew up, he realized he couldn't recall a single bright moment from his childhood associated with his father. But there was an occasion when they enjoyed pizza together, just the two of them. On that day, Adam had his backpack taken away at school, kicked around, and a wet sponge was stuffed inside, used to wipe the board. The teacher immediately called Adam's parents, and the father, who happened to be home, went to the school to pick up his crying son. He didn't bother dealing with the bullies, thinking that his son should be able to stand up for himself. But to calm the child, he took him to the mall to buy new school supplies. Seeing how the unwanted child rejoiced at ordinary pens and new pencils instead of the stubs left to him by older siblings, the man was touched and even took the boy out for pizza. No, son, eat. This is just for you," he said, pushing the whole pizza closer to Adam. "Dad, but the pizza is big. Let's eat together." "No, son, it's too expensive for me. We're not rich," so I can only feed you." Adam ate the pizza and wondered, why suddenly was it too expensive for his father? What was the logic? After all, he still spent money on it. Why not eat? In the evening, when the father's euphoria wore off, he complained to his wife. Imagine, he ate it all himself. "I didn't get a piece," he sighed. "But you should have told him. That's not the right way to behave," the wife protested. "Oh, forget it. I see the boy eating like crazy. I pitied him. That's wrong. He'll grow up selfish." The mother pursed her lips. Adam heard through the wall how he was scolded behind his back, and his heart pounded loudly with indignation. Maybe he really was autistic and didn't understand this world at all. So, after the incident with the shirt, Adam completely withdrew into himself. He hardly ate, mostly drank green tea, and solved equations. With each passing day, he increased the complexity. The math teacher, who insisted on being called Lizzie, an eccentric woman in her 50s married to her job, was constantly amazed by the boy's abilities. She had spoken with Adam's mother several times, expressing admiration for the talented student. However, his mother felt only skepticism. A mathematician, of all things. Like his grandfather, perhaps. The woman shrugged indifferently. He should participate in the competition, Lizzie suggested timidly. He already participated in some school competition. The mother replied, yes, it was a school one. He should go to the city level. And then what? An international one. Well, the Chinese will win again, so there's no point in bothering. She dismissed. You're wrong. Lizzie shook her head and, realizing that they wouldn't support the talented student's preparation for the competition, took charge of it herself. The teacher didn't understand that Adam's mother deeply hurt knowing that it was not her beloved son Bailey who turned out to be talented, but this unwanted child. The family's favorite didn't excel in studies, was lazy, and had absolutely no aptitude for academics. If not for the tutors, for whom the father, sighing, paid a tidy sum every month, he would have failed all exams. Therefore, Adam's successes were perceived by his mother as mockery, and she had no intention of helping him even in small things. Adam, do you have a suit to look handsome at the competition? Lizzie asked. No. The boy shook his head. But don't worry. We'll come up with something, the math teacher said. And the next day she bought him a shirt and trousers. Just don't show it at home. You never know what might happen, the teacher warned. Adam wouldn't have shown his mother the new clothes himself. Otherwise, there would be a scandal. He only said that he was going to the competition, and his parents didn't care. They indifferently wished him good luck and continued with their affairs. At the competition, Adam easily took first place, and then second on another occasion. The boy didn't even aim to win. He didn't really understand why he needed it at all. He had no sense of competition. He wasn't afraid to lose, so he sincerely wondered why other participants were so nervous. Second place. His parents pursed their lips. Well, second is the same as last. You're either a winner or a loser. The mother and father only came to life when they learned that the boy had won a substantial cash prize. Later, local television came to the school to shoot a short interview with the talented student. The parents were amazed, and Bailey turned green with envy. What will you spend the prize on? Asked the typical TV host. I'll buy a computer. The boy shrugged. Don't you already have one? The host was surprised. Well, we have one in the family, of course, and not just one. But I want my own, personal one, explained the young mathematician, delicately omitting that he simply wasn't allowed to use the computer. One belongs to the mother. The second is shared by two sisters who constantly watch their TV series. You can't get the brother's computer, and the father's is completely off limits. I see, said the journalist. You want to play games on it. Right, Adam didn't mind, but he wanted to learn programming. I want to program, he explained. Oh, that's something complicated. The journalist laughed foolishly. After a few more laughs and asking a couple of banal questions, the film crew packed up their equipment and left. When the moment of glory was over, Adam faced the harsh reality. His parents took the money, and a computer was not bought. The boy was so upset that he cried all night in the kitchen. Specifically in the kitchen because there was a folding bed where he slept. After crying all night, Adam went to school, where the math teacher stopped him. "What's wrong, Adam? Is everything okay?" So. The boy grumbled. "Listen, let's go to my office. I'll give you some cookies." "I don't want any." Come on. We need to talk." The boy sighed and obediently followed the teacher, who, as promised, treated him to cookies. "Adam," she began seriously, "I'm afraid this school won't be able to provide you with what you deserve. You need to transfer to a specialized math school." "What are you talking about?" The boy waved his hand, surprised that such an impractical idea came to the teacher's mind. "Why do you doubt?" she wondered. "Because I know that not only smart kids study there, but also rich ones. And I don't even have a computer." "Nonsense. There are kids of all kinds there," Lizzie confidently said. "I have a classmate working there. She knows. And about the computer, you got money from the competition. Remember?" Instead of an answer, the boy just sighed and lowered his eyes. "Parents took it," the teacher guessed. "Okay, don't be sad. We'll figure something out. But as soon as the year ends, you take your documents from here and finish your studies at the math school. Then you enroll in the best university, get a prestigious job that values your talent, and live happily until 100. Got it? This is your plan for the future. Know that I believe in you." Adam listened to his mentor and took his documents. The math school welcomed him with pleasure. "We need such kids," said the principal. And at the graduation from middle school, Lizzie presented him with a small suitcase. Opening it, Adam was stunned. Inside was a good quality laptop. "This is a gift for you." The woman smiled. "I can't believe my eyes. I can't accept it." The stunned student spoke. "Nonsense. You can do anything. Just take it." "But it's so expensive." "Well, you know, thanks to the fact that there are so many foolish people in this world, I managed to earn extra. I'm talking about tutoring. If everyone were as smart as you, I'd be earning a teacher's salary." Communication with Lizzie didn't end there. The woman suggested that the student earn money by tutoring and writing coursework for college students. The boy set a goal to give his teacher money for the computer, and after 2 years of hard work, he achieved it. He gifted her flowers, chocolate, and handed over the money in an envelope. He even added a bit extra for the shirt and trousers. It wasn't easy, as the school workload was serious. He had to write papers and essays at night, but he managed. "Oh, Adam, you're too kind. I'm genuinely happy to help a talented child. I'm grateful to you for this. But I don't need the money for now. I live with my parents, so take it. Go on a vacation, or buy yourself something nice. I learn more. It's that simple." These students are basic, and they can't even write course papers, so you'll soon reach a doctoral dissertation. Lizzie laughed. At the new school, a new life began for Adam. Here, the students were well-mannered. If they laughed at someone, it wasn't to demean them. There were, of course, toxic individuals, but they could be simply ignored, without the fear of being mocked or having their backpacks taken away. And, most importantly, high-achieving students were not ridiculed or belittled. On the contrary, they were supported and admired. That's why Adam felt fantastic here. When the school year ended, he packed his belongings without unnecessary explanations to his parents and left. He enrolled in university and moved into a dorm. He studied, continued working, and saved money. He avoided dating, feeling somewhat apprehensive about it. On his third year, he caught the attention of a girl, a waitress from the cafe where he liked to have a snack after classes. She was from the countryside, but had refined tastes. Talking to him every day, She sensed potential in him. The waitress persisted, and Adam reluctantly agreed to meet her. For almost half a year, they spent time together. It was close to marriage, but Adam was saved when another man, wealthier though older than her, appeared on her horizon. The frivolous beauty immediately switched her attention to him, and Adam, now free, breathed a sigh of relief. Adam was a typical introvert and couldn't envision himself in marriage. It was something he never contemplated. Family. Well, he lived in a family and saw nothing pleasant, their constant dissatisfaction from his mother, a nervous father, and a spoiled brother. His sisters were all right, but they, too, didn't often consider what the younger brother felt. What's the point of starting a family if one could find peace alone? Moreover, divorce statistics indicated a 50% chance of marriage dissolution. So was it really worth it? In any case, before the age of 30, Adam had no plans to think about marriage. First, he needed to focus on his career, build up financial stability, and secure a place to live. He didn't want to spend his entire life paying a mortgage, like his parents. Besides, in the modern world, was it really wise to tie oneself to a specific city or country through home ownership? No, perhaps that's foolish. By the end of his 5th year, Adam had a clear idea of how he wanted to live. Minimalism was his guiding principle. By then, he was already working in an IT company, earning very well. He had long moved out of the dormitory and rented a modern apartment. However, just like before, all his belongings fit into one backpack, excluding various gadgets. Of course, he loved gadgets and enjoyed buying them. It often happened that he would play with a new toy and then sell it. He disliked when things gathered dust on the shelf. He compensated for the lack of gadgets in his childhood, now deriving immense pleasure from acquiring them. He also bought various checkered shirts, but didn't have a single red and black one among them. When Adam started working in IT, balancing work and studies became challenging. Projects sometimes consumed all his time, so he contemplated dropping out of college. He refrained from doing so only because Lizzie sternly threatened that she would be upset if he didn't finish his education. Adam decided to complete university just to avoid disappointing his former teacher. Teachers tried to motivate the talented student, assuring him that he could finish university brilliantly and had a bright future. However, Adam knew that in his field, professionalism mattered more than a diploma. He finished university only for the sake of his teacher's peace of mind. The talented programmer quickly excelled in his profession, and as soon as he completed his education, he headed to Silicon Valley, the IT capital of the world. He had long been studying how to get there and had been sending letters to various companies. Eventually, Adam landed a job at one of the largest tech companies and began an entirely new life. The talented programmer was accepted into one of the largest corporations, to which he persistently and regularly sent letters. Not many people are so lucky, but he was noticed, and they invited him to work. The new employee was welcomed warmly. Everyone showed him around and explained everything. Initially, the young man marveled at how the company cared for its employees. There was free food, a recreation area, and a separate corner where you could play console games. This place didn't resemble a workplace. It was more like paradise for an IT professional. And the best part was that you could implement your ideas here, surrounded by equally talented and passionate colleagues. Here, no one cared about how you dressed, how you spoke, or how you looked. The main thing was to be a competent specialist. Brains and talent were appreciated here, and Adam possessed both. In general, he quickly settled into the company. For the first few years, he hardly left the corporation's walls. He didn't even want to take weekends off and often stayed at work after hours. Adam could get so absorbed in his tasks that he wore the same clothes for weeks, even forgetting to wash his hair. No one mentioned anything about it except Jane, the girl from the office, who occasionally came to their workspace for various needs. With just one look, Jane made Adam realize it was time to change his clothes. Oh, sorry. Totally got carried away. "I'll definitely wash this sweater," he promised. "Just throw it away and buy a new one," the girl advised. She flirted with Adam for a long time and then couldn't resist inviting him on a date. "What? Are you inviting me on a date?" Adam was taken aback. "Well, yes, what's the big deal? If I don't invite you, I'll never get an invitation from you. So let's do it on Saturday." "Okay." Adam nodded hesitantly and went on the date on Saturday. Jane was right. He had no intention of inviting her anywhere. He wasn't interested in relationships at all, thinking that getting attached to another person is harmful and interferes with work. Moreover, the company didn't like it when romances happened between employees. Despite Jane being sweet, kind, and attractive, Adam had no plans to build anything with her or any other girl for that matter. However, Jane was serious about it. After their first date, she invited Adam to dinner, then for a bike ride, followed by a hiking trip. Later, she asked to stay overnight at Adam's place, but upon seeing that the frugal young man lived in a cardboard apartment with nothing but a mattress and a computer, she laughed and said she wouldn't stay in that bachelor den. Instead, she invited him to her place. Adam realized he was in a tight spot, and the girl wasn't letting go. It felt awkward to initiate a breakup himself, not wanting to hurt a good girl. At the same time, he feared that he wouldn't make her happy, especially since Jane had shown herself to be someone with whom it was fun and easygoing. But after a year of unproductive relationships, Jane hugged Adam tightly and said, "Thanks for everything we had. There's something to remember, right? I thought we could make it work, but I see I'm not your person. I hope we can stay friends." Adam was at a loss. He thought Jane would always be with him. He had already gotten used to her, and she just gave him a chance that he didn't take. At first, he wanted to persuade her to stay, but then he figured it was too much responsibility to become her man. To be honest, he wasn't ready for a family, and she was. After some reflection, Adam decided it would be wiser to let her go. 6 months later, when Jane got married, the guy felt a slight regret, but soon he immersed himself in work and bid farewell to sad thoughts. After Jane, Adam had a few more girlfriends, but they were all temporary. The young man always took care of his girlfriends, gave gifts, and helped them in difficult situations. However, he often noticed that these girls didn't love him. They were only interested in his money, and Adam earned quite well. The pragmatic IT specialist didn't get upset when another girl left him for someone richer, more successful, and promising. He simply concluded that all girls wanted was money. Jane also married a wealthier man and now lives in a luxurious mansion. One day, Adam even registered on a dating site, pretending to be a simple janitor, and naturally, no one wanted to get acquainted with him. Drawing negative conclusions about women, he abandoned the idea of finding a permanent girlfriend and began focusing on himself. He started going to the gym, watched his diet, but his significant progress came in his work, where he was noticed and appointed as the head of a promising project. Adam's life was so busy that there was simply no time for boredom. Therefore, he didn't suffer from the absence of a woman by his side. However, a crisis occurred in his soul. Whether it was because he was approaching the age of 30 or for some other reason, Adam decided to return to his hometown. Many were surprised. "Are you crazy to lower the bar like that? If you leave, they might not take you back, and certainly not to a competing company," others remarked. However, some intuition told Adam that with the earned money, he could start his own IT company, developing a product based on his ideas. The most crucial thing was that he could work on his own project, which would be his brainchild, rather than a corporate creation. The main challenge was to ensure that his parents wouldn't interfere again, as they managed to give advice even from a distance. For a long time, Adam didn't tell them that he had gone so far and was working successfully. He coldly lied to them, claiming that he simply didn't want to return to his hometown and would stay in the city where he finished college. However, eventually, He had to confess, and it began, "Shame on you. You earn big money, but you can't even send $1 to your father for treatment." Before relatives knew where and what Adam was working on, they rarely wrote or called him. But when they found out about his financial status, calls came so regularly that he didn't know where to escape from his intrusive parents. Eventually, he found a solution. A substantial sum regularly deposited into the family account solved the communication problem. No one bothered calling him anymore. Upon his return, Adam felt strange. It was like finding an item in the closet that had long been forgotten and putting it on. It seemed both old, worn for many years, and somehow new. Besides, the item no longer fit the same way as before. To begin with, Adam moved out, started socializing with people beneficial to his business. Only after all matters were settled, 2 months later, he dared to visit his parents, knowing they probably wouldn't be thrilled to see him. Therefore, the main purpose of his visit was Lizzie. The elderly teacher had a jubilee, and Adam planned to drop by her house to deliver a gift and a magnificent bouquet. He also decided to stop by the store to get champagne. Adam was surprised when he met Catherine, a girl from his class, in the store. Their relationship during their school days was mediocre, but the programmer was glad to meet her here. Catherine didn't look too well. She had children, 3 boys. They were hanging on the young woman like monkeys, demanding, "Buy, I told you." Catherine irritatedly said, "We only came here for bread and milk, Peter. Put the chocolate back. I'm not buying it. Preston, stop drooling on the candy. You have eczema anyway." Adam felt sad. He understood perfectly well that the classmate was not upset because of an allergy. She simply didn't have money, and yet she used to be such a bright girl, almost as vibrant as Cassidy. Catherine. Adam decided to address her. The woman turned around but didn't immediately recognize her classmate. "Oh my God. Adam. I can't believe my eyes. You've changed so much, handsome," she said, and for a moment, it seemed to Adam that she was flirting with him. "How have you been?" he asked Catherine. "Nothing much. In a protracted maternity leave," she shrugged. "Dad's ran away, living on benefits. Not fun, but bearable." Adam felt sad about Catherine's fate. He looked at her boys, one dark-haired and tanned, and the other 2, though light-haired, clearly different. It seemed Catherine managed to have children with 3 different men. "Boys, take a basket and put in whatever you want," Adam said cheerfully. "Are you kidding?" Catherine asked in fear. "I won't be able to pay for all this, and you take one too. Whatever you need, and more. Grains, meat, cheese, butter, take it. Don't worry about the cost, I'll cover it." "Rich, huh?" Catherine smirked. "No, but I have the opportunity to make an old friend happy." "But no, I'm not old yet," Catherine protested, but she still took the basket. Adam watched as the lively boys swiftly filled their basket with sweets, and Catherine eagerly grabbed pasta, ham, cheese. Soon, her basket became unmanageable. After paying at the checkout, Adam helped pack the groceries and then gave his classmate and her children a ride home. "Well, from here, I'll work myself," said Catherine, clutching the handles of the bag. "Sorry for not inviting you home. It's a mess there." "I'm not one to," Adam admitted. Catherine thanked her generous classmate once again and entered her house, while Adam went to visit the teacher, unaware of the significant role this chance encounter played in his life. The next day, around 5 in the evening, he received a call. "Hello, Adam," said a female voice on the other end. "Good day," Adam replied cautiously. "Don't recognize me?" the voice asked. "No, sorry," Adam said. "I'm sorry, but I don't have time," he said dryly, ready to hang up. But she stopped him. "Why so stern, Adam? Didn't recognize me? It's me, Cassidy." Adam's heart skipped a beat. Ah, Cassidy, the girl from his dreams. How he just wanted to sit with her at the same desk. He was willing to do anything for her. He even gave her his shirt, and she wiped her feet on it as if it were a doormat. Cassidy, Cassidy. Yes, I remember you, Adam said, trying to maintain composure. Oh my God, Adam, you're such a modest guy. Are you stuttering there? I bet you're sweating and maybe blushing. It's so cute. Where did you get my number? Adam asked. Is that all you're interested in? Cassidy chuckled. Well, Catherine gave it to me. She said she met you accidentally at the store yesterday. Cassidy tried to say it in a calm voice, thinking it unnecessary to mention that Catherine had called her excitedly yesterday and told her about the unexpected encounter. In response, Cassidy bombarded her with questions. How does he look? Where does he work? What kind of car does he have? He looks great. White-toothed. Fit. He has his own company. Can you imagine? And the car? You won't believe it. A Tesla. Catherine reported. Cassidy realized that she couldn't miss this chance and demanded Adam's number from Catherine. He had just given the woman his business card. She couldn't hide such important information from her friend. So, Cassidy called Adam, and with a sweet voice, told him that, coincidentally, she was also in town. Cassidy arranged a date with Adam in a restaurant on Saturday, and he even came with flowers. Well, you're so gallant, Adam. I'm flattered, said a pleased Cassidy. Adam looked at her. Yes, she was a beauty. Of course, she was no longer a young girl, but a mature woman under 30. But she still had lush hair, long slender legs, and an unchanged love for extremely short dresses with a deep neckline. And it seemed she had done something to her lips. They weren't so plump before. I have a gift too, she said, handing him a bag. Looking inside, the programmer was surprised to find a fabric wrap in black and red checkered pattern. Is it really? He hesitated. Pulling out the gift. Unwrap it, Cassidy instructed. Smiling, Adam unfolded it, and it turned out to be a shirt, almost identical to the one Cassidy had thrown away in the school bathroom, but without the patches with Freddie. The shirt triggered unpleasant associations, and Cassidy could see dissatisfaction on Adam's face. Didn't hit the mark. Too bad. I thought I'd make up for my mistake, she said disappointedly. No, it's all good, Adam said. Surprised you remember. Forgive me. I was foolish. I don't know how to appreciate people. Didn't see your qualities. And now you see. Adam smirked. Yeah, I figured it out a long time ago. But you know, pride and wrong role models. By the way, I clearly misjudged the size. You used to be so skinny, and now you're a fit guy. I try. Adam smiled. By the way, you look fantastic, as always. After finishing with compliments, the former classmates proceeded with dinner and casual conversation. They shared stories about how they had been living all these years, and while Adam listened to Cassidy's cleverly crafted narrative, he realized he understood nothing. She spoke in a convoluted manner, evasively, dropping hints and double entendres. Whether she was married or not, whether she worked or her parents supported her, everything remained unclear. On the other hand, Adam had nothing to hide. Still, he chose not to delve into details. After dinner, Cassidy pleaded with Adam to take her for a ride in the Tesla, and he agreed. He could see that she was literally hanging on to him, but for some reason, he didn't want to stop her. He was curious to get to know his former classmate better, what she had become, what her character was like. Adam thought he had the situation under control and that feminine charms wouldn't affect him. But he was mistaken. The skillful seductress quickly enchanted Adam and hypnotized him with her charms. So much so that very soon, Adam himself suggested living together. And later, he even proposed. And why not? Cassidy was tender and affectionate. There was no trace left of the rough and mocking girl he knew in his youth. Or rather, she could make some sarcastic jokes, but it looked more like flirting. With this woman, he felt manly and strong. He thought she might be the first partner with whom he was truly ready to start a family. Moreover, living together showed that it was very comfortable with Cassidy. She didn't cause trouble, made coffee in the morning, and fed him delicious dinners. The only thing Cassidy persistently asked of Adam was to introduce her to his future in-laws. The programmer didn't have the opportunity to fulfill her request for a long time. He was heavily occupied with his own company, which was just beginning to show the first signs of success. Besides, he had no desire to communicate with his parents unnecessarily. Cassidy patiently waited for him to introduce her to his parents. She chose a wait-and-see approach, not insisting but reminding regularly. So the groom eventually gave in and took her to meet his parents. Here he was again in the parental apartment. His sisters had moved out long ago, each having their own families. Bailey, on the other hand, still lived with them. He had no desire to work because the money from his brother, father's salary, and his mother's tiny pension were enough to live in complete comfort. Life would have been even sweeter if the gambling-addicted Bailey hadn't squandered money on various dubious games. The parents discussed the idea of cutting off the financial flow to their son, but Bailey threw such a tantrum that bad ideas no longer visited the heads of the parents. During the introduction, Cassidy was well received by the parents. However, it seemed like they were not meeting the fiancée of their younger son, but rather inspecting a wife for the older one. They were so actively advertising Bailey that Cassidy couldn't help but find it amusing. "You've got it wrong. I'm Adam's fiancée," she jokingly said. The parents laughed and, as if nothing had happened, continued to praise Bailey. Adam had no choice but to watch this spectacle and roll his eyes. In reality, Bailey was quite popular with women despite all his shortcomings. Unlike Adam, he knew how to flirt and deceive. Unfortunately, many women were susceptible to such tricks. Knowing this, Bailey took advantage of the girls' weakness and manipulated them. He didn't engage in serious relationships with anyone, but not for the same reason as Adam. He just didn't want to bother. Seeing the stunning, long-legged Cassidy, who became even more dazzling after gaining access to Adam's money, Bailey started showing interest. He didn't hesitate to use his so-called charms and pick-up techniques. He began mocking his brother, and soon the parents joined his initiative, teasing the younger son as well. Cassidy held back for a long time, not to burst out laughing at their jokes and ridiculous childhood stories that they usually try to keep secret. However, she couldn't resist any longer and laughed louder than everyone. This hurt Adam. It was unpleasant that his beloved had also sided with his parents. But what irritated him even more was that she was flirting with Bailey, and he smirked at Adam as if to say, "Anyone will do for me." Adam left his parents with an unpleasant feeling. They didn't even say a proper goodbye to their son. Instead, they interacted with Cassidy as if she were their beloved daughter. Adam wondered why they treated him this way. Bailey, despite all his escapades, was adored. He kept losing money consistently. The programmer was so lost in his thoughts that he didn't immediately hear his phone ringing. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello," he mechanically answered. "Hi," began an unsure voice. "This is Marsha. Lizzie mentioned me to you." "Marsha? Oh, right," Adam exclaimed, realizing he had completely forgotten about his teacher's niece, whom she had asked him to hire. By that time, Adam's young company had achieved tremendous success. Adam even received an award at some business festival called Breakthrough of the Year. One day, his teacher called him and said she needed to have a serious talk. "Adam, I've never asked you for anything, and you know I don't want you to think badly of me. But I'm asking you sincerely. Please, hire my niece Marsha. She's a very good and diligent girl. She has a college degree, although not in computers, but she can work as a secretary, clerk, or whatever you need. You know how hard it is to find a job without experience and connections. Let her learn, gain experience with you. I'm not asking for a high salary. I'll help her with money if needed. But right now, experience is priceless." Adam promised to hire the niece and promptly forgot about her after the conversation. It had been a while since that talk, and apparently, Marsha mustered the courage to call him herself. Yes, Marsha. I remember you. Sorry for not returning your call. I've been swamped. But you did well to call me yourself. Oh. She sighed in relief. I was so worried I might be bothering you. Marsha. Come to work tomorrow. Can you make it? Yes. Of course, I'll be there tomorrow morning. Good. See you. Adam hung up the phone and immediately met Cassidy's gaze. His fiancée was looking at him sternly. Who were you talking to? She mocked, imitating Adam. Marsha. Come, I'm waiting for you. I didn't say it like that. The young man chuckled. Sure, because I was there. What nonsense are you talking about? Adam protested. She's the niece of my teacher. She asked me to give her a job. Great. The girl said sarcastically. Let's hire all your relatives and friends. I'll bring my whole family to you. Cassidy. Adam began sternly. I only hire highly qualified employees who not only work well but also have a passion for what they do. I'm making an exception for Lizzie's niece, and I won't make it for anyone else. And what makes this niece so special? Cassidy asked maliciously. Nothing. But helping Lizzie is sacred to me. I owe her a debt for helping, believing in me, and guiding me. She was doing her job. She got paid for it. Cassidy retorted. You don't know a lot. I'll tell you later when I'm ready. But I don't understand your resentment. Fine. The girl conceded, seeing that she couldn't provoke a reaction from Adam. But I want to be present at Marsha's interview. No problem. Adam smiled and immediately dismissed this conversation from his mind, making room for more important thoughts. Therefore, when Marsha came to his company to meet him, he didn't call Cassidy or inform her about it. What would that look like anyway? Who is Cassidy? The co-owner of the company. The HR director. The young man was sure that his girlfriend had probably forgotten about that conversation herself. So, when Cassidy arrived at Adam's office and saw a delicate young woman in a strict suit, she went berserk. Adam, you promised not to hire her without my knowledge. I never promised that. The programmer calmly replied. You said the interview would happen in my presence. Cassidy insisted. Yes, you're right. I rushed with that promise. You're not HR, not a co-owner of the company, so you wouldn't be able to give me advice. Therefore, I made the decision myself. Adam, you jerk. Cassidy almost uttered a harsher insult, but held back in time, turning sharply. She left. Excuse me. Blushed Marsha said. Marsha, don't worry. Cassidy is a fiery woman, but she's sincere. He reassured her. He appointed Marsha as his assistant. At first, he entrusted her with the simplest tasks, but seeing that she handled them brilliantly, he began to entrust more serious assignments. After a year, Marsha practically became his right hand. Of course, the most crucial roles in the company were still held by IT engineers and project managers, but all organizational matters, such as finding a venue for presentations, meeting with clients, and organizing a Halloween party, fell on the fragile shoulders of the young assistant. Adam felt helpless without her. The girl literally lived at work. Her boss appreciated her efficiency, so he paid her accordingly. Despite her good salary, Marsha continued to dress modestly and did not wear makeup, trying to be perceived at work solely as a professional. And that's exactly how Adam saw her. However, Cassidy despised the poor girl from the first glance, and her opinion remained unchanged over time. Why is this girl always following you? Cassidy demanded an explanation. Marsha is my personal assistant. Adam calmly explained. Why do you need a personal assistant? Cassidy wondered. Why? She organizes meetings, handles paperwork, communicates with people I either don't want to talk to or don't have time for. And if I'm hungry, she orders and brings me food because I don't want to waste my time on such trivial things. He explained. Let me bring you food, Cassidy suggested. Adam frowned, recalling how his fiancée once promised him a hot lunch and forgot, leaving him hungry. Cassidy, you don't have to worry about anything. If I promise to be with you, then I will be with you. And I'll only look at other women if, for some reason, our paths diverge. However, I don't see any reasons for that at the moment," he stated. "Oh, not yet," Cassidy said. "Well, I understand. Already thinking about how to get rid of me? No, I'm not thinking about that. But, I admit honestly, your scandals and jealousy spoil my mood. I want a peaceful atmosphere in my family. I had enough of scandals in my childhood, believe me. And I won't let any external factors reduce my productivity, even if that factor is my beloved girlfriend. So, Cassidy, I'll say it again. I love you, and all the other women in my life are either relatives, colleagues, or business partners." Adam hugged Cassidy and gently kissed her. "You know," he suddenly said, "I should be the one feeling jealous. Look at you, so bright, striking, unforgettable. You've been like this since childhood, and you'll remain so forever. Men notice you, and you interact with them. Laugh. It's not surprising. Many are happy just to get your smile. Imagine if I made scenes of jealousy. Ha! What would happen then?" "No." Cassidy shook her head. "You have no right to compare. I interact with those men at your rare parties. And what kind of men are they? Your IT guys. And your corporate parties are boring. And your Marsha always flirts. But you got really close to my brother." Adam couldn't hold back. "What are you implying, Adam? We're just friends. I want our families to have good relations. I just wanted to be liked by your family," Cassidy exclaimed and burst into tears. "Sweetie, what are you doing?" Adam felt uneasy about making his beloved cry. "You're delaying the wedding, keeping me in suspense. The engagement ring doesn't count. You tied me to yourself, hinted that the relationship is serious. But in the end, nothing is clear. I'm still in an uncertain status." "I understand you," Adam replied. "We will definitely get married." "When?" the impatient girl cried out. "Right now, if you want. The City Hall is open. Grab your documents, and let's go." "You're right. Why postpone it?" Cassidy even jumped with surprise. Usually, Adam had to wait a long time for her to get ready. But this time, he barely turned around, and she was already standing by the front door, dressed and with her purse. "So, are we going?" the impatient girl asked. "Let's go." Adam nodded in confusion. He didn't expect that he would suddenly invite Cassidy to the City Hall. Of course, he had been thinking about it for a long time, and the bride was in a hurry. She already wanted to replace the engagement ring with a wedding one. But something held Adam back. Some elusive doubt stirred his soul. Besides, he didn't like the suspiciously close relationship between his fiancée and his brother. But on that day, they went and submitted the application. Cassidy was happy, and the rest of the evening she spent making a guest list and planning their life together with Adam. They had already been living together for quite a while. Although Cassidy didn't move in with her fiancé right away, at first, she was terribly annoyed by the minimalism that the programmer was used to. But gradually his apartment filled with all sorts of things that Cassidy dragged from interior and kitchen stores. Of course, she spent Adam's money on shopping. Initially, he didn't pay attention to the purchases. However, when the apartment became cluttered with various rugs, cushions, vases, and small furniture that, according to the young man, carried no functionality, he realized that he had not set boundaries in time, and now it was too late. He had to accept it and not pay attention. After all, most of the day, he spent in the office, where everything was arranged according to his taste. "You know, dear," Adam said to his bride, "let's postpone the wedding planning for now." "What?" the girl protested. "Have you changed your mind already?" "No, sweetheart, what are you thinking?" Adam reassured her. "I just thought that we've spent too little time together during our relationship. We've hardly had any trips together because I'm always busy." "Where are you going with this, Adam?" "Sweetheart, I've rented a mansion in Fiji. Let's fly there together. No one around. just azure water and breathtaking nature. A heavenly vacation. Are you serious? Cassidy couldn't believe her ears. Absolutely. Adam nodded. But what about your work? You're always busy. Work can wait. The team is handling a well-established project, and nothing should go wrong. Just in case, I'll take my laptop, but I promise not to immerse myself in work. Cassidy cried tears of joy. She threw herself into Adam's arms and whispered, "Darling, I'm so happy. I can't believe it." Throughout the following week, Adam hardly saw his future wife, who was immersed in preparations for the island getaway. She bought new swimsuits, straw hats with enormous brims, sunglasses of various shapes and sizes. In the end, she had a huge suitcase. However, 2 days before the trip, Adam called her from the office and said, "Darling, I have a fever. I feel hot, and I have a cough." "What?" The girl panicked. "Can't we go on vacation?" "Sorry, but I definitely won't fly. I feel really bad. I locked myself in my office, not letting anyone in to avoid spreading the infection. I have a sofa here, and some tea." "Great. I knew all plans would be ruined. You never keep your promises." The girl petulantly shouted and hung up, but Adam immediately called her back. "Darling, don't be angry. I know how much you dreamed of flying to the island, and you will fly alone, I suppose." "Very funny." Adam coughed heavily into the phone. "Sorry, sweetheart. This cough is choking me. I wanted to tell you that you'll fly, and not alone, but with my brother." "What? With Bailey?" the girl asked in bewilderment. However, her tone softened significantly. "Yes, with Bailey. I trust him completely. He won't harm you. You'll fly on a private jet. Don't worry about anything." "Well, thank you, dear," the girl said, feeling better. "I'm really sorry you're sick, and I would have liked to fly with you. But since it happened this way, I agreed to fly with your brother." "That's settled," Adam said with a smile, and immediately coughed. "Oh, you're coughing so much. My dear, maybe spend the night in the office tonight." "Okay. I don't want to catch anything before the trip. And when I'm gone, you can come home." "All right." "Yes, darling. Of course. Kisses," said Adam and hung up. Cassidy's nimble fingers dialed Bailey's number. "Hey, idiot. Heard the news? You and I are flying to the island together. Just don't embarrass me. Dress decently. No colorful shirts," Cassidy said. A couple of days later, one of the heavenly islands of Fiji welcomed Cassidy with hospitable sunny weather and enchanting seascapes. Squinting from the bright sun, the girl took a deep breath, inhaling as much fresh air as possible. How wonderful! Behind her, Bailey lazily followed in a bright, colorful shirt and spacious shorts. He dragged along a huge suitcase belonging to his companion. "Come on, hurry up," Cassidy commanded with an authoritative tone. "You're lucky that Adam got sick. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this resort." "Resort, indeed. Heat, humidity, and no entertainment," grumbled the man. "On the neighboring islands, there are restaurants, clubs, and casinos," informed the tall middle-aged guide who had brought them from the airport to the island. "If you need anything, call my boat, and I'll take you there." "Well, what about hitting the casino?" Cassidy asked mockingly, addressing her companion, who had recently been borrowing money from her. Knowing that her brother wouldn't lend him anything, Bailey asked Cassidy, using his masculine charm. In response, Bailey frowned. "I'll play it back," he said. Cassidy burst into laughter, and her companion pretended to ignore the mockery. But in reality, he didn't care. He believed that sooner or later, wealth would fall from the sky onto him, and he would live the life he truly deserved. Bailey's self-esteem was something to envy. The young man knew how to live luxuriously, spending every penny and never denying himself anything, especially when spending someone else's money. He borrowed from his parents, took out loans, and borrowed from friends, who became fewer with each passing year. The island they arrived at was small but incredibly picturesque. Here's a lagoon, and over there is very beautiful, a spacious beach, coral reefs, and turquoise water, continued the guide. Great. I can't wait to take some photos and post them online, exclaimed Cassidy. Unfortunately, that won't work. There's no signal here, the guide said, spreading his hands. What? The girl exclaimed in disappointment. Well, that's it. Your girlfriends won't see you sunning your butt under the sun. Bailey laughed. But how do we call the boat? Cassidy asked. I'll give you a radio. You'll communicate through it. And there are walkie-talkies all over the mansion. You'll be able to communicate with each other and with the gardener from any point on the island. With the gardener? Cassidy asked. Yes, his name is Juan. He speaks little English, but he's familiar with the word shark. So if it attacks you, just shout shark on the radio, and Juan will come. If, of course, you manage to reach the radio. But actually, I'm kidding. There are no sharks here. The guide reassured, realizing by Cassidy's expression that the joke didn't land well. The long-legged tourist disdainfully snorted and continued down the paved path. Bailey followed her, annoyingly clattering his suitcase. The mansion exceeded all the guests' expectations. Adam hadn't shown any photos of the house, despite Cassidy's pleas. He wanted to make it a surprise. Therefore, she was a bit afraid it might be some shabby bungalow. However, when a luxurious two-story Caribbean-style mansion with a huge courtyard pool and a stunning garden filled with tropical flowers and palms unfolded before her, Cassidy was thrilled. In front of the villa, there was a spacious wooden porch with a cedar shingle roof. Glass sliding doors led from the house to the veranda. Flower garlands and charming lanterns were used as decorations. The villa resembled a photo from a magazine about the beautiful life. Is this really happening? Cassidy asked quietly, not believing her eyes. Well, not a bad house. The brother wanted to show off his money, wanted to flaunt it. He wanted to boast about his money. Bailey scornfully snorted. Unlike some, Adam has money. Cassidy retorted. Yes, you're right. Bailey smirked. He has money. But I'm the one enjoying the paradise island, not him. Don't you see a certain paradox in that? Cassidy looked displeased at him, and Bailey, casually tossing her huge suitcase into the courtyard, headed toward the house. Yeah, cool mansion. But where are the keys? He brazenly asked, as if he had rented the villa. The door's open. The guide smiled. There's no one to fear here. That won't do. Bailey shook his head. Anyone could sail here on a boat. And, by the way, we have valuable things. What? Valuables for you? Cassidy burst into laughter. I wonder, what? Your shorts and flip-flops. The most valuable thing here, Bailey began seriously, is you, Cassidy. If you calculate how much Adam has given you, it turns out to be the amount he bought you for. And that amount is not small. What? Cassidy flared up. How dare you? Jumping in place with indignation, she rushed towards Bailey with the desire to slap him. But he managed to hide behind the door of the mansion in time. However, the pursuer didn't give up. She also slammed the door, and they found themselves together in the unique villa's hallway. What they saw fascinated them so much that they froze in place, forgetting about their quarrel. Enchanted, they gazed at the interior with yellow walls adorned with brown wooden rails, creating a sense of homely comfort. Soft, milky-colored furniture with a wicker base, wooden tables, handmade rugs, extraordinary chandeliers, and lamps. Yellow walls repel insects, explained the guide. And the bedroom? Upstairs? Cassidy inquired. Yes, there are several of them. Choose any, said the guide. Great. I'll choose the best one for myself. Bailey rubbed his hands. Don't hold your breath. You'll be sleeping on the couch. Bailey. Cassidy tried to dispel his illusion. Don't count on it, grunted the man. But just in case, he tested the couch. Oh, It's soft. While the girl was choosing her room upstairs, Bailey asked the guide, "Listen, how's the food organized here? I don't see any chefs or service staff." "Yes, there's no staff here. This mansion is rented by those who want to be on the island with a feeling of being alone. You understand? The only person who will be here constantly is the gardener. One, there are very delicate plants here that need constant care. And overall, someone from the staff has to stay. One's bungalow is on the premises. But don't worry, he won't disturb you or spoil the view in any way. Oh, here he is. Look out the window. Juan is waving to you." Bailey looked out the window, and in the courtyard stood an elderly native in work clothes and a wide-brimmed straw hat. Bailey waved and smiled. Juan immediately turned away. "Oh, don't do that. He's a native, and for him, a wide smile is not a sign of friendliness, but rather aggression." "Really? How interesting." Bailey marveled and deliberately smiled again as soon as Juan looked his way once more. The old man quickly turned away again, choosing to keep his distance from the strange guest. "And is there any alcohol here?" Bailey asked, turning away from the window. "Yes, there's a mini bar in the hall," nodded the guide. "Mini," grumbled Bailey discontentedly. But as soon as he saw the scale of the mini bar, he was shocked. There was an incredible amount of elite alcohol for every taste. "And can I drink all of this?" Bailey couldn't believe his eyes. "Of course," nodded the guide. Greedy Bailey squinted his eyes. Then he opened them again to check if it was a dream. "There's also wine from 1890 here," the guide informed. "But, you know, I wouldn't recommend drinking it. It is probably turned into vinegar." Bailey couldn't take his greedy eyes off the minibar. "So much," he exclaimed in admiration. "Cassidy, I think I'll follow your advice. I'll sleep on the couch. I don't want to leave my treasure trove for long. There's something to snack on." "As for food," the guide said, "you have a refrigerator in the kitchen at your disposal. Come with me." Together with Bailey, they headed to the kitchen, a modern space with a professional stove and utensils. On the opposite side of the window stood a chrome double-door refrigerator. The guide solemnly opened the doors, revealing an incredible abundance of food before Bailey's eyes. "Not bad," the man said, "but I won't be cooking. Especially not Cassidy. You won't have to. 3 times a day, a boat will come to you, bringing fresh food from the restaurant. The refrigerator will also be regularly cleared of stale products and filled with new ones. Room cleaning will be done too, and you won't even notice. Regarding food, you can place an order for what you want today. Restaurant staff will bring you a menu where you can mark your desired dinner or compile a set of dishes for tomorrow. But don't worry, you won't be disturbed. Our staff is like ninjas, silent and unnoticed." "Yes, that's service," Bailey said appreciatively. "And what about the casino?" he whispered. "How do I get there?" "Very easy," the consultant replied in a hushed tone. "Just call me on the radio, and I'll take you. But the casino is expensive, so it's not worth going there with less than $10,000. "Darn, I don't have that kind of money," Bailey lamented. "Too bad. Our casino is no worse than in Las Vegas. A huge hall, luxury, gold, beautiful women, high-stakes gambling." "Don't tell me." "No need," grimaced Bailey. "I'll go have a drink to drown out the pain of disappointment." "Do you need me anymore?" the guide asked. "No, you're not needed. Go," waved off the disappointed Bailey. "Well then, have a good time. A happy vacation on the island," the guide said. At that moment, Cassidy descended into the hall. She managed to change into a revealing swimsuit and a lightweight beach robe. "Are you leaving already?" she playfully asked, showcasing her long legs to the guide. "Yes, but if you need me, the radio is at your disposal." "Well, it was nice to meet you." The girl smiled and headed to the beach. The guide left, and Bailey preferred to stay at home, alone with the minibar. Oh, how pleasant surprises life can sometimes throw your way. If someone had told him just a month ago that he would soon be enjoying a free vacation on an island, he wouldn't have believed it for anything. Meanwhile, Cassidy skipped out of the mansion onto the pristine beach. Looking around and making sure no one was nearby, she spread her arms wide and began to twirl, shouting, "Yoo-hoo! I'm so happy." Cassidy ran into the water, still in her lightweight robe. How wonderful! Wet and happy, she returned to the mansion but unexpectedly bumped into a stranger. "Pardon me, Mom," the man said, bowing low. The bewildered girl quickened her pace, entered the hall, and asked the already tipsy Bailey, who was enjoying free alcohol, "I just saw some creepy old man. Who is he? I thought we were the only ones on the island," she exclaimed. "Oh, him. Don't pay attention. That's Juan, the gardener," Bailey said with difficulty. "Oh, I don't trust these gardeners. Even in detective stories, who's usually the killer? Either the gardener or the butler." "Cassidy, he's just a harmless old native. Smile wider next time. He'll get scared," Bailey advised. "What?" Cassidy protested. "Do you think I have a scary smile?" "No, not at all, dear. Just, he's afraid of broad smiles. But don't worry. Come to me, darling. Finally, we're alone, and no one will bother us." He poured Cassidy a martini, and as she sat on the couch, she began sipping the drink from the glass. As soon as it emptied, her companion promptly refilled it. Seeing that she was slightly tipsy, Bailey threw his arm around the girl's shoulder and then kissed her on the cheek. "Oh, Bailey, you silly." Cassidy chuckled, pushing him away. "I told you that time was the last. I'm marrying Adam. Period." "Since when did you become so principled?" "Ha." Bailey smirked. "I'm just afraid of losing Adam," the girl firmly declared. "More like his money. If he were poor, you'd be with me." "Never," said Cassidy. "And if I were rich?" he asked. "If you were rich, then yes." Cassidy shrugged calmly. "Well then, let's at least pretend for tonight that I'm rich, shall we? Rehearse a bit." "Oh, come on," scoffed the girl. But Bailey could see that the slightly intoxicated beauty was not averse to some entertainment. "Let's go," he said. "You can show me which room you've chosen. I'll help you up the stairs in the meantime." When night descended on the island, the cries of nocturnal tropical birds echoed in the surroundings, among which the loud calls of two happy seagulls were clearly distinguishable, emanating from the second floor of the villa. Old Juan lowered the electrical switch to turn off part of the night illumination. Then he raised his eyes, looked at the second floor of the villa, shook his head disapprovingly, hunched over, and went to his bungalow. For 3 days, Cassidy and Adam reveled on the island. They savored delicious restaurant dishes, explored Fijian cuisine, admired picturesque sunsets, and enjoyed the beautiful nature. They became so lazy that they even stopped swimming in the lagoon, preferring to frolic in the pool. On the 4th day, to Cassidy's bewilderment and great displeasure, a boat brought her fiancé Adam's assistant to the island. The girl held a small travel bag in her hand. She was wearing dark sunglasses and a black suit, but was barefoot. Cassidy noticed that the tip of the girl's nose was reddened and slightly swollen. "And what are you doing here?" Cassidy scoffed. "Adam sent me here," the fragile assistant uttered. "What?" the girl protested. "Why? Is he spying on me? Didn't expect this from you, Adam," she mumbled, as if her fiancé were here. "Cassidy, aren't you interested in how Adam is feeling?" Marsha asked. "Interested," the bride replied. "Well, how is he? How is my future husband feeling?" Taking a deep breath and enduring a dramatic pause that allowed her not to burst into tears, Marsha replied with bitterness in her voice. "Hold on, Cassidy. Adam is gone." "What?" the girl gasped. "What?" protested Bailey, who had followed Cassidy. "He was alive just days ago." The illness turned out to be insidious, a fleeting flu. It happens. Unfortunately, one moment a person is here, the next gone. Cassidy sank onto the sand and burst into loud sobs. "Why? Why me? We were supposed to get married. I even sent out the invitations. Bailey helped the distraught girl get up, supporting her elbows. Let's go. We'll sit in the hall now, have a drink, and the girl will tell us all the details. Entering the hall and seating the crying Cassidy on the couch, Bailey opened the bar and took out a bottle of wine. He understood that all of Adam's belongings would go to his parents and, consequently, to him. How fortunate that his brother hadn't legalized his relationship with Cassidy. Mentally calculating his brother's multi-million-dollar estate, Bailey found it challenging to feign grief on his face. "I'm so sorry, dear," he said, handing Cassidy a glass. She emptied it in one go and asked for more. Her thoughts at that moment were synchronous with Bailey's. She was tallying up her fiancé's multi-million-dollar fortune and regretting not having married him. Now his money, the company, everything would go to his parents and, accordingly, to this jerk Bailey, who could barely contain a smug grin. Instantly grasping the situation, Cassidy gently laid her hand on Bailey's hairy arm. "Oh, what a tragedy. How sorry I am. Accept my condolences, dear," said Bailey. But Cassidy hugged him anyway, resting her head on his shoulder, shedding tears on the red flowers of his colorful Hawaiian shirt. "I'm here to read Adam's will," Marcia said, tears flowing from beneath her dark glasses. "Will?" Cassidy asked. "Yes," nodded Marcia. "Adam managed to send me an email before his death, asking me to come to the island and personally read his will to you. He also forwarded me a copy with all the seals by email." "Then what are you waiting for? Read the late man's last will," Cassidy began urging the girl. She unzipped her travel bag, took out a small flat suitcase, and opened it. Unlocking the suitcase, she pulled out a folder from which she extracted an envelope. "Are you ready?" she clarified with Bailey and Cassidy, the latter pressing herself against the future heir, nervously gripping his hand. Yes, ready. Just skip the silly introductions and legal formalities. Read who gets the inheritance right away." "All right." Marcia sighed and began scanning the document. So, here we go. "I bequeath all my movable and immovable property, as well as bank accounts, to my fiancée Cassidy, as she was the most beloved and dear person to me. I'm sure she'll be able to manage my estate properly." "What?" Bailey gasped. "Not even to his parents, but to her. All of it, me," Cassidy said, disbelieving her ears. The thought that she was now a wealthy heiress quickly settled in her mind, and the girl roughly pulled her hand out of Bailey's palm, who continued nervously fidgeting with her long fingers. "Get lost, idiot. Why are you bothering me?" she snapped. The bewildered man opened his mouth in astonishment. How could this be? Just moments ago, she was fawning over him, and now she was sending him away. "You changed your mood quickly," he uttered. "So what? I'm a millionaire now, and you're a poor fool." "Yeah, but you didn't think so last night or the night before," he reminded her. "I was drunk, and it's boring here, even though it's beautiful. But now I have a lot of money. I'll open a beauty salon, just as I dreamed." Cassidy seemed to have forgotten that her fiancé had died. All her thoughts were concentrated on one thing: the inheritance that unexpectedly fell into her lap. "If you were thinking of asking about the funeral date, I brought an urn with his ashes and need to scatter them in the bay," Marcia informed. "Well, fine. I hate funerals," Cassidy shrugged. "Poor parents. How could he treat them like this? Left them with nothing. Everything went to this fool." Bailey continued to express his outrage. "My boy, be careful, or you'll be thrown off the island with the first boat," Cassidy warned. "I'll keep quiet," Bailey said. Bailey realized that the advantage was currently on Cassidy's side, so it was better not to argue with her. "Well, thank you for the news, even though they're sad. I won't keep you. You probably have a lot to do, Marcia. Goodbye. Your boat probably hasn't sailed yet," Cassidy said with a forced smile. She had nothing more to share with the girl, and she didn't want to see her again. "No, I'm staying," Marsha firmly declared. Adam gave me a vacation here as a parting gift since I've been working hard all year and haven't taken a vacation. Besides, that was just the first part of the will. There's another part I need to read to you on this island. That was his wish. So, we all stay here. Oh, Adam, Cassidy hissed. Can't do without silly conditions, can he? Instead of simply doing something nice for the girl, leaving her all the money, and quietly dying, he has to stage a whole spectacle. How can you say such things? The assistant couldn't hold back. I've been in tears for 3 days. Can't find my place. Although Adam wasn't my fiancé or a relative, and you rejoicing that he's dead. Have some shame, don't envy. Dear, naive one. Cassidy smirked. I'm a millionaire now. And we, the rich, are cynical people. Don't mock the girl, Cassidy. Bailey shook his head. Apparently, she was in love with your fiancé. What? Marsha exclaimed. I never stole anyone else's fiancé and had no intention to. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to. Cassidy laughed. Come on. Let's stand next to her and see who's the beauty and who's the plain mouse. And do you seriously think any sane man would leave me for her? Don't make me laugh. Marsha angrily stamped her bare foot and headed to the second floor to take the available room. Don't enter my suite. If you rummage through my things and anything goes missing, I'll know right away. Understood? Cassidy taunted her from below. In response, the girl disdainfully shrugged her shoulders. Idiot. Cassidy said maliciously and turned to Bailey. And you, my sweet, go clean the pool for mommy. And then maybe she'll reward you with a kiss and let you use the minibar. Cassidy, have you gone too far? This isn't your villa. Bailey reminded her. True, but it's rented with my money. So don't be lazy, my sweet. And work. Understood? Work. Screw you. My brother did the right thing by dying. At least he died with a healthy mind. If he had lived for another 5 years with you, he'd put on a wooden suit himself. Don't be smart. Cassidy said, then lay down on the couch and stared at the ceiling to make it easier to count how much money her deceased fiancé had. Or rather, how much money she now had. Meanwhile, Marsha unpacked her bag in her room, put on a light summer dress in indigo and woven brown sandals. Stepping outside, she looked around. Paradise surrounded her, but nothing pleased her. She slowly walked through the plantation, surveyed her surroundings, and reached the shore with azure waves. Sitting on the sand, she pulled her knees to her chest, embraced them with her arms, and started gazing into the distance. There was no emotion on her face, but suddenly tears began to run down her cheeks. Then a second and a third, and soon the girl was loudly crying. After crying, she stood up and walked back. On her way to the villa, she met Juan, who was carrying 2 baskets of fruits in his elderly hands, wearing rough gloves. May I help you? She asked. No. The gardener shook his head, but Marsha didn't back down. She pulled the basket towards herself, and the old man yielded. Together, they walked to the kitchen, and Marsha helped arrange the fruits. As a sign of gratitude, the gardener took off his hat in front of her, then left. And a moment later, Marsha heard Cassidy scream, Juan, you scared me, the old devil. What are you doing here? Following were Juan's apologies in the local language. Oh, just go faster, Cassidy said wearily as she entered the kitchen. Oh, and you're here? She smirked. Why the tear-stained face? Listen, don't you care at all that your fiancé died? The girl asked indignantly. I care. It's just that there are still billions of men on Earth, so I won't be alone. Especially with that much money. Adam never knew how to enjoy life anyway. You're so cynical, sighed Marsha. Maybe, but at least I'm not poor. Cassidy smirked. Make me a fresh juice, dear, and bring it to the poolside lounger. You are confusing me with someone else. I'm not a waitress, the girl said sternly. Then get off the island. Cassidy started to get angry. No, she firmly replied. I'll fulfill the late one's will, stay here, and read you the second letter when Adam's specified date arrives. This island is not rented by you, and it's not up to you to kick me out, you cheeky thing," Cassidy said, and worked away abruptly. The most torturous nightmare for a woman was the inability to share the joyous news with her friends that she was now fabulously rich. Cassidy thought for a long time about how to do it, and then it struck her. Let's call a guide and go to an island with a shopping center. We'll have a great time there, and I can write to my friends because there must be Wi-Fi there. Cassidy, you're a genius. Bailey smiled, and so they did. On a boat, they reached a large island. There were amusements, shopping centers, and restaurants. Cassidy immediately went shopping. She bought expensive items and jewelry. In the end, she spent not only all her money, but also a considerable amount on credit. Bailey, who was tired of carrying her purchases, scolded her for extravagance. "Dear, you'll inherit only after 6 months. A lot can happen in that time. Maybe you're wasting it unnecessarily," he suggested. "Who's giving me advice here?" "My lover." Cassidy chuckled. "By the way, look at what's next to us. And how do you like it?" Bailey turned his head and froze in amazement. Before him, a building of a casino sparkled with millions of lights. Bailey stared at it for several minutes, then asked in a mechanical voice, "Cassidy, will you lend your lover $10,000? "Oh, what a fool." The widowed bride laughed and went to the restaurant, sitting at the table and ordering food. She immediately began to post vacation photos on social media, enjoying the shower of enthusiastic and envious comments under the pictures. She had never before gained likes at such a rapid pace. Checking her followers list, she promptly removed Adam. It was unpleasant to see the page of a dead person. Then Cassidy started writing to her friends, boasting about how rich she was now. Some friends from her circle of acquaintances, with whom she was friends for selfish reasons, she sent off in a rude manner, expressing everything she thought about them. "Let them know, fools," Cassidy said contentedly, putting her phone aside. Now the wealthy heiress visited the island every day and splurged on her credit cards. "You are behaving like shopaholics." Marcia disapproved when Cassidy and Bailey returned from another shopping spree, buying everything indiscriminately, even though you don't need any of it. "These things serve no purpose. No one's asking you." The girl snorted. "Bailey, be careful with the bags. There are souvenirs." "Hey, dear, want to see what we bought?" "No." Marcia shook her head. "Not in the mood. I'd rather sit by the water." "Understood." "You'll cry again. In vain. It causes wrinkles, and I don't cry," Cassidy remarked. "I noticed." Marcia nodded and headed to the lagoon. She did shed a few tears, but then she decided that Adam wouldn't approve of such behavior. In her mind, using his voice, she ordered herself to pull together and stop. Rising decisively, the girl took off her dress and headed into the water. The water was pleasantly warm, and the sunset was beautiful. Marcia looked around, trying to memorize every detail of the landscape. The color of the sky, the sensation of the warm wind on her face, the touch of the gentle waves. After bathing, she walked onto the sand and started to dress when she felt like someone was watching her. Startled, she raised her eyes and saw Juan, who was going about his business, holding tools in his hands. Marcia waved to him and shouted, "Beulah!" In response, the gardener also shouted, "Beulah!" The next day, Marcia gathered Bailey and Cassidy in the hall to read them the letter from the second envelope. She stood in the middle of the room, holding the envelope with bewilderment as she gazed at Bailey, who was kneeling in front of Cassidy, giving her a foot massage. "You guys are insane," sighed Marcia, and she opened the envelope. "So, as Adam's will specified, the date has come for me to read the second letter. Are you listening?" "Good. Dear Cassidy, have you read the will? Have you come to terms with the fact that you're the heiress of a vast fortune and have already spent all your savings and probably gotten into debt? If you stayed on the island, you couldn't spend money because there's no internet here. Why am I saying all this? Because I want to tell you that you rushed. There was no need to squander money because you won't get a penny from me. You see, dear, I found out that you've been cheating on me. So I decided to leave everything to my brother. Yes, we had our disagreements, but he's still my brother. And you, alas, betrayed me. So happily stay away. Marsha raised her eyes to Cassidy, then shifted her gaze to Bailey, who remained frozen, gripping Cassidy's heel. Snapping out of his stupor, he abruptly released the girl's foot. What are you doing, Bailey? She screamed. To hell with you, Cassidy. Marsha, let me read the letter. I don't believe my ears. Bailey nervously babbled, snatching the sheet from the girl. After scanning the text, he asked, "And the will? Is there a will?" Bailey rambled nervously. "Let's see. This letter came to me sealed, so I'm surprised myself," Marsha said and delved into the envelope. Immediately, she pulled out a paper with a crest. "Here." Bailey hastily examined the document, then teared up, kissed the paper, and pressed it to his chest. "Is it really true?" he whispered softly. "I don't believe it." "Let me see," exclaimed an angered Cassidy, grabbing the will. Upon studying the lines, she attempted to tear them. "That won't help. These are copies," Marsha calmly stated. "Got it." Bailey chuckled. "RIP as much as you want. You're now penniless and in debt." "Yes, brother. Played a good prank before his death." "Marsha, tell us how it all happened." "Not long before his death, Adam sent me a letter and a video instruction. He told me to fly to the island and read you the will upon arrival. Then another letter came, not electronic, but sealed, and another video instruction in which Adam ordered to read it on a specific date. I didn't even know there was a second will that annuls the first. I'm surprised." "Yeah, Adam, quite the prankster." Bailey laughed, joked incredibly. "Come on, Cassidy, don't cry." That evening, Cassidy got horribly drunk. The next day, an unscheduled cleaning had to be called to remove everything she left behind. Marsha went back to the beach and cried again. "Why do you cry?" She heard an old man's voice behind her. Turning around, she saw the gardener. "Oh, Juan, I'm afraid even if I explain the essence of my suffering to you, you won't understand. You see, the man I loved died. He didn't notice me. Who am I anyway? A faithful assistant, a gray mouse, and he had a real star for a girlfriend. Of course, he didn't notice me, and now he's dead, and I have to watch his brother and fiancée ready to fight over the inheritance, but not shedding a single tear for him. And I don't know where to go from this grief, because I'll never see my beloved again. And that's not all. I have an urn with his ashes that he asked to scatter over the sea. And I realize I just don't have the strength to scatter these ashes and part with him forever. Every day, I send him SMS love confessions, knowing he won't reply. What a fool I was not to tell him about it earlier." "Juan, are you crying? Or is it just the wind?" "Ah, you still wouldn't understand anything. Don't cry," Juan hoarsely uttered. It seemed he did understand what the girl was talking about because tears stood in his eyes. "Thank you, Juan. It's amazing. You're the only one who understands me." The next day, Marsha decided to scatter Adam's ashes at sunset. Bailey and Cassidy didn't want to go. Cassidy said she didn't want to look at anyone's ashes. "No," Marsha said sternly. "We will go." They descended to the beach, and there, by the water, Marsha delivered a solemn speech. Juan performed the traditional funeral song in Fijian and lit torches, adding a touch of mystique. The girl scattered the ashes, closed the urn, and cried again. "That's all that's left of you, my fiancé," Cassidy said spitefully. "I even feel sorry for my brother," Bailey said. "I wouldn't want to be in his place." "You both are disgusting. You ruined such a beautiful ceremony," Marsha said. Throughout the next day, Bailey teased the unfortunate Cassidy. He made her prepare coffee and fresh juice, massage his feet, and do a pedicure. The girl was angry, but she fulfilled any whim of her lover because he promised to clear her massive debts. She also tried to return some of her purchases to the stores, but she couldn't. And what would she tell her friends with whom she had quarreled? Oh God, why did she say so many nasty things about them? If only she could turn back time, she wouldn't have to court that obnoxious Bailey. The next morning, Marcia descended to the hall, holding a small envelope. Bailey was already downstairs, inspecting his alcohol stash. Look at that. Found another envelope. I didn't even notice it at first. Where did it come from? The girl marveled. Read what's in there, Bailey said cautiously. Afraid there might be a letter that annuls the previous will. I can't. It's for you, Marcia replied, handing him the envelope. Indeed, his name was on it. Impatiently, Bailey tore open the envelope, and a note and a golden plastic card fell onto the floor. Dear brother, the note read, I understand that you're in a tough spot and owe a lot, so I'm handing you this card. There are $50,000 on it. You can settle your debts now. Just please, I beg you, don't spend them on the casino. Of all the text, only the words $50,000 and casino stuck in Bailey's mind. Casino. He whispered and ran to call the boat. What's happening? What's all this noise? A displeased Cassidy grumbled, coming down from the second floor. Darling, put on your best outfit. I have $50,000. We're going to the casino. Are you crazy? The casino only opens in the evening. Oh, darn, moaned Bailey. But, Cassidy realized, we need time for you to pick a suit. There's a dress code there. Let's also go to a restaurant. Good idea. Time flies faster there than on the island. But we won't buy you anything. Enough. Unhappy Cassidy went to freshen up. She styled her hair and dressed comfortably, bringing a dress and jewelry with her. How considerate you are. Hard to believe that just a couple of days ago, you maxed out all your credit cards on nonsense. Cassidy stayed silent. Arriving on the island, she stored her things in the storage room, and then they headed to the restaurant. No, I'll have lobster, and you get used to the local cuisine. Eat a flatbread with vegetables, Bailey said mockingly. Listen, if you're going to talk to me like that, I'll turn around and leave, the woman said with offense in her voice. Then go. With this money, I'll find someone younger and prettier, Bailey sarcastically remarked. What do you mean, someone younger? Am I old? Cassidy protested. Well, you're already 30, lady, second class. Cassidy almost choked with anger. No one had insulted her like this before. You're such an idiot, she said angrily. All yours, dear, Bailey smirked. Then I won't go to the casino with you. Go alone. If you wanted to make an impression on my account, it won't work. Darling, my impression will be provided by this little piece of plastic, he said, displaying the golden card. Well, as a nice bonus, if you don't want to go, you don't have to. A handsome loner like me won't be short of women. Cassidy pouted and said nothing, realizing that Bailey was right. Now the money was in his hands, and she was broke, drowning in debt. Evening arrived, and the casino opened its doors to guests. Bailey, dressed in a brand new tuxedo, could barely contain his excitement. He resembled a child who had been denied sweets for a long time, but was suddenly set loose in a candy store. Cassidy had also changed into a sparkling black full-length dress with an open back. The tall woman in an elegant evening gown instantly drew attention in the hall. People winked at her, offered drinks, but Bailey quickly grabbed her arm, showing everyone that the lady belonged to him. That's the news. Recently, you were shouting about finding a younger beauty instead of me, an old lady, and now you are not letting wealthy suitors near me. Maybe I'll meet my future husband at this celebration, and my life will improve. You won't have to pay off my debts, Cassidy teased. No, dear, Bailey said with a smile. Tonight, you are definitely mine. I bought you like an item, and I'm pleased with that. And when you flirt with others, I feel uncomfortable. Despite Bailey's mocking tone, he was so convincing that Cassidy decided it was better not to joke with him tonight. Taking him by the arm, she confidently strode across the silk carpet, glancing regretfully at the wealthy men who wouldn't be seduced this evening. Bailey promised himself to be restrained, not to make too large bets. But today luck was on his side. He kept winning, and other players looked at him with either respect or envy. Unlike many present, Bailey didn't feel the need to restrain his emotions. He jumped in place and shouted, "Yes, yes," every time he won. Cassidy also got into the spirit and sincerely supported her partner, defending him from long-legged 20-year-old girls who had already approached him and tried to rub against the lucky man with their voluptuous forms. Every victory by Bailey and Cassidy was celebrated with a sip of pink champagne with playful bubbles. Unnoticed, she became as cheerful as those bubbles. "Bailey, I don't understand. My head is spinning, either from the champagne, or from all this luxury, or from your success." The slightly tipsy beauty giggled, but Bailey wasn't listening. He was so immersed in the thrill that all surrounding sounds turned into white noise for him. Everything around ceased to exist, only he, the chips, the green table, and the roulette wheel. After winning a huge pot, Bailey went to play poker, where he also succeeded. The more his companion won, the more Cassidy drank. She completely let loose, laughing and jumping, stumbling in her long dress, cheering for her partner. It seemed like the girl genuinely rejoiced for him. She kissed him on the cheek, applauded, and called him her hero. "You're a genius, Bailey. A real macho, a prince, a hero," exclaimed the enthusiastic Cassidy. Bailey just grinned, not believing a word she said. That evening, he became the true star of the casino. Guests wanted to get to know him, chat with him, but the lucky man waved them off, explaining that he didn't speak English. Cassidy could barely work. She was so drunk. "Bailey, dear, let's go." "Okay. I can't take it anymore. I feel nauseous. You've won everything possible. You're rich now, like an Arab sheik," she pleaded. "Well," he sighed, "I never thought I'd say this, but it seems I've really had enough for today. I'll cash in the chips, and then we can leave." At the cashier, Bailey was sincerely congratulated, and they wrote him a check. The happy player pocketed the coveted check and, supporting the barely standing Cassidy, led her to the exit. "You've really had a bit too much to drink, Cassidy. It's unpleasant to watch," he remarked. "It's your fault, Bailey. I was so happy for you that I overdid it a bit. And the champagne was so delicious. Bailey, carry me, will you?" "No way. You've gained weight lately. I won't carry you. You'll manage on your own." Dawn was breaking. A taxi driver offered to give the couple a lift to the pier, but Bailey declined. It was just a few hundred meters, and the girl would surely get sick in the car, making her feel even worse. Let her get seasick in the sea. Suddenly, some suspicious figures emerged from the casino building. There were 4 or 5 of them. In the twilight, Bailey couldn't make out their faces, but he clearly saw weapons in their hands. "Damn it!" Bailey cursed and, dragging Cassidy along, quickened his pace. "What's going on, dear? Why are we in such a hurry?" Cassidy asked. "Run, you fool, run," Bailey begged. "Stupid you." The drunken girl laughed. "Where can I run in such a state? You're ridiculous." Bailey cursed and, lifting Cassidy onto his shoulders, began to run. He didn't understand where he got the strength to carry the girl and run away from pursuers. In addition, he managed to jump from the pier right into one of the boats. After dropping Cassidy, he untied the rope from the post and nervously started the engine. However, the boat showed no signs of life. Bailey swore. Cassidy tried to get up but fell again. The pursuers were getting closer. Grabbing his drunken companion, he dragged her into the next boat. "Ouch! Be more careful, Bailey. What are you doing?" The girl moaned, but he paid no attention to her. He tried again to start the engine. Suddenly, the motor roared to life, and Bailey, at the last moment, managed to untie the rope from the post. He tried to steer in such a way as not to hit the neighboring boats, but he did a poor job. He still collided with two adjacent boats. Cassidy, who had managed to get on all fours, lost her balance and fell again, hitting her head. She cursed, and Bailey hurried, trying to remember which direction their island was. Hearing the sounds of the pursuing boat and gunshots behind him, he hesitated to look back. The thugs were shouting something at him, either in English or another language he couldn't discern over the noise of the engine. Gunshots rang out again. Bailey wondered what to do. One thing was clear. The pursuers wanted his check. Perhaps the casino had sent these thieves because they didn't want to pay out a large win. However, Bailey swore to himself that he would never, under any circumstances, hand over his jackpot. He just wanted to escape. He understood that there was nowhere to hide on the rented island. He needed to reach the neighboring island. Perhaps he could find shelter there, or maybe there would be police. But this idea failed as the fuel ran out. The only option left was to seek protection in his villa, hide somewhere, and call for help via the radio. Docking at the shore, Bailey dragged Cassidy out of the boat and pulled her along into the mansion. Reaching the villa, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "One, Masha, save yourselves, hide. There are bandits here." But he received no response. The yard, veranda, and the facade of the house were illuminated by night garlands, their light fading as the dune rapidly unfolded in the sky. But inside the mansion, it was dark. Once inside, Bailey started calling for Marsha again, but she didn't respond. "Wake up, Cassidy," he repeated, but she remained unresponsive. Dragging her along, Bailey reached the second floor, rushed into one of the bedrooms, closed the door behind him, and then shoved Cassidy under the bed. He then began to search for Marsha, but the girl was nowhere to be found. Locking two adjacent bedrooms, he burst into the room where he had hidden Cassidy and followed her under the bed. Deliberately leaving the door unlocked, he hoped to set up a psychological trap for the bandits. If the door is open, it means no one is hiding here. The pursuers didn't keep him waiting. Bailey heard the stomping of their feet and the rough, low voices. His trap worked. The bandits indeed began to break down the locked doors. They broke one, then the other. They entered inside, started smashing furniture, trying to find the hidden fugitives. Bailey knew that when they found no one, they would come here, into this room. Therefore, he decided to climb out of the window, and while they were occupied, run to their boat and sail away. It was a perfect plan, and just as Bailey was about to execute it, someone entered the room. There was only one person. From under the bed, only his shoes were visible, old, worn-out boots. Bailey hid as the man walked around the room, stepping with dirty boots on the pristine white carpet. Finding nothing of interest, the man headed towards the exit. Bailey was about to exhale with relief when the person who was lying next to Cassidy unfortunately let out a loud snore. Desperate, Bailey covered her mouth, but it was too late. The man in boots stopped in the doorway and slowly turned towards them. At that moment, Cassidy inconveniently snored again. In despair, Bailey covered her mouth, but it was too late. The man in boots knelt down and peered under the bed. "What? One?" Bailey said in astonishment, seeing the wrinkled face of the gardener in front of him, and right away, he felt relief, thinking it was one of the bandits. "One, urgently run, hurry, they'll kill you, there are bandits here. Go, go, run," he whispered, waving his hands at the gardener. The old man seemed to understand what they were trying to convey. He slowly got up and headed for the door, while Bailey began to crawl out from under the bed, dragging Cassidy with him to climb out of the window together. Juan's hoarse voice made him freeze, and he turned around. The old man was saying something loudly in the corridor in an unfamiliar language. Before Bailey could figure out anything, Tattooed bandits with shaved heads and gold teeth stormed into the room. In an instant, they tied up Bailey, gagged him, and put a sack over his head. Then they dragged him somewhere, pulled him down the stairs, and rudely threw him to the floor. When they removed the sack from the captive, he saw that he was in the hole. Cassidy, bound and lying on the floor, still couldn't sober up after such stress. There were 4 bandits in the room, and one stood modestly in the corner. Clearly, he had betrayed them. And in the middle of the room stood the well-built guide, the same one who brought the couple to the island. "Well, congratulations on your winnings." The guide smiled. "Not everyone is so lucky." "Thank you," Bailey replied. "I'm just a lucky guy." In response, the guide laughed. "A sense of humor is excellent. And now I would really like to see the check," the guide said with a sinister smile. "Oh, so that's why you chased us for so long? Just to have a look at the check?" Bailey said. The guide appreciated the joke and laughed loudly. But then the smile disappeared from his face, replaced by a grimace expressing cold malice and cruelty. "Check. Here, quickly," he said, emphasizing each word. "I would gladly do it, but unfortunately, my hands are tied. So, sir, please help yourself. The check is in the breast pocket," Bailey replied. The guide nodded, and one of the bandits began searching his breast pocket. Shaking his head, he signaled that the check was not there. "Oh, damn memory loss," Bailey mockingly said. "Maybe it's in the pants pockets." They searched him again and found nothing. The enraged bandit struck him in the jaw, and everything around Bailey went dark. All right. The check. It's in the sock." The men took off his shoes and pulled out a scrap of paper from the sock. It was a glossy certificate for a sum with 6 zeros. The guide, with a predatory smile, said, "Well done. But that's not all. Now you'll sign papers that transfer everything you inherited from your brother to me." "What?" protested Bailey. "You're just extortionists. Dirty thieves taking away someone's property." "Fine," surprisingly agreed the guide. "We won't force you to sign these papers. Moreover, we'll return your casino check. But you have to do one thing." "And what might that be?" Bailey asked suspiciously. "Take a revolver and put a bullet in her forehead," the guide said, pointing at Cassidy. "What?" Bailey protested. "What has she done to you? She's just a fool. A gold digger. Well, she wants to live a lavish life. What's wrong with that? Yes, she can be cynical. But Cassidy doesn't deserve death." The guide slowly approached Bailey, cut the ropes on his hands, and then handed him a revolver. "There are pleasures that are more valuable than money. For example, seeing a lover kill his beloved. Think about it. One shot, and no one will know. But you'll have all the money. Look at her. She's unconscious anyway. Won't feel a thing. Her life is pointless. She's of no use to anyone. But you can live in abundance for the rest of your days. You're insane. What if I shoot you right now?" Bailey unexpectedly said, aiming the revolver at the gangster's forehead. "Amusing," he replied. "Look to your left. Louis is standing there. He has a shotgun in his hands. Even before your brain signals your index finger to pull the trigger, Louis will successfully shatter your skull into pieces." Turning around, Bailey locked eyes with Louis and immediately understood that joking with him wasn't a good idea. After holding the revolver in his hand for a few seconds and looking at Cassidy, who started mumbling something while still unconscious, he suddenly put the weapon aside and said, "Give me the papers. I'll sign everything." "Unexpected," the guide mused. "Here's a pen for you." They handed Bailey the paper and the pen. He put all the necessary signatures and wearily said, "Now, are we free? Will you let us go?" "Now we are," nodded the gangster. "One, untie them." The gardener approached Bailey and, with one swift motion of the knife, cut the ropes on his legs, then freed Cassidy in the same manner. "Yeah, I didn't expect this from you." "One," Bailey said. Cassidy was right. Gardeners are the most suspicious people. Never trust gardeners. To be honest, I didn't expect much from you either, brother. Juan suddenly spoke without an accent. What? Bailey didn't understand. Meanwhile, Juan took off his straw hat, gloves, and began pulling at his face. With some effort, he peeled off a large piece of skin, revealing a silicone mask shaped like a human face. Bailey was speechless when he discovered that Adam was standing before him, alive and unharmed. To be honest, brother, I'm puzzled. I was sure you would agree to kill Cassidy just for the money. Your gun wasn't loaded anyway. But then I would have to give you a moralizing speech. And you sacrificed everything for her, for the girl who mocked you in every possible way, especially when she thought you weren't rich. You carried her on your back when escaping from the bandits. You didn't abandon her, risking your own life. And yet, when you asked her to make you coffee or a cocktail, she always spat in your drink, and you knew it perfectly well. I don't understand you at all. Not at all. A mysterious soul. Bailey shrugged. You even tried to warn Marsha that there were bandits in the house and tried to save Juan. I'm surprised. Can I ask a question? Bailey interrupted his brother. Are you resurrected, or were you never dead at all? I don't know what you tech-savvy guys are capable of. Maybe I'm talking to a hologram right now. No, I didn't die. Moreover, I've been here with you the whole time, disguised as the gardener Juan. Cool mask, isn't it? Realism close to perfection. I ordered it from a film studio. By the way, it's not hot in it. It's like your face becomes its own. Don't advertise your mask to me, but tell me what's going on here. Bailey interrupted. Get up from the floor and sit on the couch. I've suspected for a long time that you and Cassidy had a romance, but you hid it from me. I didn't particularly follow it, considering it beneath my dignity. But before the wedding, I decided to check. And for the sake of the experiment, I sent you to the island together. Well, then I decided to test you with money. First, I played it as if Cassidy got the money, and then as if you got them. The check of the bride and the brother turned into a strange but fascinating game. Yeah, and Marsha was involved as your assistant. A real actress. She cried and scattered ashes as if it were dust. She even arranged Hawaiian-style funerals. You're mistaken. I knew nothing. The voice of the girl who entered the room sounded. I only found out about everything yesterday when you went to the casino. Juan, or rather Adam, approached me and took off his mask in front of me. He confessed that he received my texts and heard me confessing my love to him. I was shocked. I was terribly angry. Yeah, she slapped me for that. Adam nodded. A well-deserved one. By the way, the assistant clarified. I don't argue with that. For the purity of the experiment, I did pretend to be dead. They handed over my ashes. There was just ordinary ash there, and she was supposed to take it to the island and scatter it. But her main mission was to read you the will and then the second letter. Honestly, I didn't plan the intrigue with the casino and the gold card. It just occurred to me suddenly. So later, I sneaked into Marsha's room and slipped a note with the card. That's why Marsha was wondering where the letter came from. Yeah, I thought I had schizophrenia, shrugged the assistant. Anyway, I refused to participate in this spectacle. Yeah, and you came beautifully at the end, Bailey sarcastically remarked. Listen, I still don't understand one thing. Why all this? If you just wanted to test the bride, you could have done it more easily. Of course, but I wanted to teach you a lesson. Play on your passions, replied Adam. Well, you succeeded, nodded the brother. Oh God, my head hurts so much, moaned Cassidy, who was starting to come to her senses. Marsha hurried to the kitchen and brought her water with aspirin. She also applied ice to her head. I heard everything happening in my sleep, Cassidy said. My body wasn't listening, but my head was thinking. You know, Adam, you're an incredible jerk. It turns out. I'm very glad I'm not marrying you. Well, fair enough. Adam shrugged. The prank really got out of control. I told you so. The guide intervened. But admit it, we and the guys played our roles perfectly. Oh, yes. You deserve an Oscar, praised Adam. And the guide and the company left. So, I won't have any inheritance, sighed Bailey. But at least the casino winnings are mine. I'm afraid not. Adam shook his head. On that very day, the casino was rented by a film studio, and they were shooting a movie. The extras behaved naturally, and in the heat of excitement, you didn't notice the spotlights, cameras, and actors. Cassidy didn't notice it either because she got drunk. You won because it was planned in my script, and the jackpot receipt check is fake, you scoundrel, Bailey said. I wonder who persuaded you to this prank. Oh, you won't believe it. Adam blushed. It was my math teacher's idea. What? Marcia was outraged. My aunt. Is she really capable of such a thing? That's right. The old lady, a distinguished educator, Bailey said thoughtfully. Now I don't trust three categories of people: IT specialists, gardeners, and old ladies. Do as you please. I had my mission, and I fulfilled it. Just tell me, Bailey continued. Do our parents know about your death? No, of course not. So on the island, I deliberately jammed the internet and cellular connection so you couldn't call your parents and tell them the news. They probably wouldn't be upset, but still, I decided not to play with them. When you went to the mall, I was afraid you'd discuss my death with them. But you were busy with yourself, so you didn't even think about them. You are something, you scoundrel. Although I think you've outsmarted me, Bailey said with respect, and began to slowly get up from the floor. In the evening, Bailey went to the beach to enjoy the sunset. He was surprised to find Cassidy there. The girl was simply dressed, with no trace of makeup on her face. Her hair was pulled back into a ponytail at the nape of her neck. She stood barefoot, burying her feet in the sand, admiring the sunset. Didn't expect to meet you here. You usually like spending time by the pool with a martini, Bailey said. After everything that happened, I just don't feel like it, sighed the girl. Thanks for not shooting me. I wouldn't have been able to. The gun wasn't loaded, shrugged the man. Yeah, but you didn't know that, did you? I just didn't believe the bandits. Thought if I killed you, they would still force me to sign papers. And I couldn't afford to lose the money from you. You have to sacrifice something. Bailey grinned. Ack, you're so cynical. Cassidy playfully frowned and burst into laughter. You know, I do regret the lost money. I took a real loan. But Adam is alive. Such a strange feeling. I wasn't upset about his death, but I'm still very glad he's alive. Yeah, I'm in debt too, Bailey admitted. And I'm also glad my brother is alive. Cassidy, what would you do if you suddenly had money again? Oh, I dreamt of opening my beauty salon, having my own business, and not depending on anyone. That would be so great. And what about you? Would you gamble it all away in the casino? No, you won't believe it, Cassidy. But I would pay off debts and buy my own stable. I've always dreamed of working with horses. You and horses? Are you kidding? The girl shook her head skeptically. Do you doubt it? Do you know how much money I've lost at the racetrack? But seriously, since childhood, I've dreamed of learning to ride, taking care of a horse in a stable. But my mother insisted on horseback riding. She was afraid her precious child would fall off the horse and get hurt. So it remained an unfulfilled dream. I would have never thought you were so tender and loved animals, the girl confessed. Excuse me for eavesdropping on your conversation. Adam's voice came from behind the couple. Marcia followed behind the young man. But honestly, both of you are revealing completely unexpected sides to me. Taking out his mobile phone, Adam started typing something on the screen. Cassidy, check your account. The internet is working now, he said. And the girl, leaning over her beach bag, pulled out her mobile phone. What? She said. I can't believe it. These are huge amounts of money. Now you won't have to hunt for rich guys to fulfill your dream. Being with someone you don't love only ruins both your lives, preventing both of you from finding real, sincere happiness. In Bailey's shorts, the phone vibrated too. Taking it out, he looked at the screen. Is this not a prank? Did you really transfer such a sum to me? He asked. No, it's not a joke. Enough with pranks. And today you got a real punch in the face. The octa didn't gauge his strength. So I really transferred the money to you for moral damage. I hope you have enough willpower not to squander it in the casino. Don't worry, brother, I'll have enough. Such success as last night can't be repeated anyway. Well, if you realize that you can't control yourself, I'll hire a therapist for you. Addiction needs to be addressed. The main thing is to admit that you have it, Adam said seriously. Turning to Marsha, Adam unexpectedly for everyone got down on one knee and pulled out a red velvet box. Opening it and looking into the eyes of the astonished girl, he said, Marsha, you have always been my loyal assistant, and I always perceived you solely as a good colleague. But when I saw you crying for me on the seashore, when you poured your heart out to me, thinking I was one, when you were the only one crying at my funeral, scattering my ashes, I realized that you are the first woman who loved me not for money, but simply for who I am. Tell me, will you marry me? Yes, I do. Marsha nodded in confusion, struggling to come out of her stupor. So unexpected was Adam's gesture. Just yesterday, when he took off his mask in front of her and confessed everything, after listening to her screams and reproaches for a long time, he confessed his love to the girl. But she never expected that today he would propose to her. Adam stood up from his knee and kissed Marsha, and Bailey applauded joyfully. Cassidy, wiping tears of annoyance on her cheeks, reluctantly said, Congratulations. Now, if I may have your attention, Bailey said, and he too got down on one knee in front of Cassidy. Taking a ring hastily crafted from the foil of a chocolate wrapper he found in his pocket, he put it on the girl's finger and said, Dear Cassidy, you are the most beautiful, ruthless, cynical, and greedy girl of all I know. You are my better half. I can't imagine life without you, and I want you to create scenes for me and ruin my nerves every day. I promise not to lag behind and involve you in various dubious adventures. Do you agree? Stunned, Cassidy was speechless with surprise. Finally, regaining the gift of speech, she sarcastically remarked, I'm old, you know. You can find someone younger and prettier. I can, nodded Bailey, causing Cassidy to pout. But no one can ruin my life like you. So, I want you to rock me on your emotional swings every day. And in turn, I promise not to fall behind and involve you in various questionable escapades. Agreed. Before answering, I want to ask you, Bailey, did you know that I spat in your coffee every time I made it? I knew. Bailey nodded with a smile and still drank it. Cassidy raised her eyebrows incredulously and still drank it. Well, then I say yes. I will marry you, the girl said and hugged her new fiancé. Yes, said Adam. Even Lizzie couldn't have predicted such a turn of events. The main thing is that everyone in this story found what they were looking for, albeit in such a strange way. Overcoming a series of difficult obstacles, Marsha said, pressing against Adam. Meanwhile, the sun had finally sunk below the horizon, and the island plunged into darkness. One forgot to turn on the lights, Cassidy demanded, turning her face toward the garden, and immediately stopped, looking at Adam. There was no gardener on their island. Realizing the absurdity of the situation, all four burst into laughter, and turning on the flashlights on their mobile phones, they